Good morning, dear students. Today, again let me welcome and invite you to this session of our English discussion. And we have been discussing the very basics of English language, you can say. And our discussion has been about parts of speech. We are discussing. And in the meantime, we did discuss several parts of speech and we analyzed some of them. Today, we will again revise those parts of speeches we have discussed already. We have already discussed. And we will again recall what did we understand in our previous classes. Okay? So, with this revision, we can recall and it will give us confidence to answer for speaking and writing. Okay? So, you see, when we talk, the topic today is revising parts of speech. We have discussed briefly about every part of the speech. Again, let us discuss about them and we will analyze those parts we have discussed in our previous classes. Okay? So now see, here the parts of speeches collectively I have written over here. One is noun, pronoun, verb, adjective, adverb, preposition, conjunction and interjection. These are some of the 8 important parts of speech. And briefly, noun means every name can be a noun. Noun is a naming word that you know. The name can be the name of a person, can be name of a thing, animal, place, action, feelings. There are a lot of things we discussed that also can be have in our discussions. Similarly, just like you see, Rama is a person, pen is a thing, market is a place. Similarly, eagle is a bird. So we have different names for different things, those which we say the nouns that we will analyze. Similarly, we discussed about pronoun. Pronoun are those words we have discussed that are used in place of nouns. And like nouns, they are also in use. Suppose we are talking about a person, Hari. In place of Hari, we can write he as a pronoun. Similarly, for every noun, we can have their pronouns that we will analyze and classify. Similarly, we discussed verb. Verb is an action word, everybody knows. Every work that we do is a verb. Every work that we do. Again, verbs have been classified differently that we will briefly understand. But basic understanding is verb means an action. We do that. Everybody does. Understand? Similarly, when we talk about adjective, adjectives are some words, an important part of speech. It plays a very important role in our grammatical constructions of our language. That modifies or enhances or what you can say enriches or describe the meaning of nouns in our speech. Sita is a girl, Sita is a beautiful girl. Beautiful is enhancing the meaning of the girl. Okay, that is adjective. Similarly, we understood adverb. Adverbs, the most important parts of speech. It can modify everything. Because like adjectives are only meant for nouns and pronouns, whereas adverbs can modify everything except noun and pronoun. Okay, that can be, you can say a verb, an adjective, an adverb, a preposition, a phrase, a clause, even the whole sentence can be modified by some words. Those play very important role in our speech. They are called adverbs. We have discussed them. You might have understood them, but still I recall your understanding of the previous class. Similarly, prepositions are very important part of speech because they function as the links between the words. They are meant for positioning nouns and some phrases and some clauses and something else. It creates a link between the various parts of our sentence, the phrases you can say. They are also very important. Similarly, conjunctions as its name says that it connects two phrases, two clauses, and it synthesizes the statements, the phrases we have been using in our speech as well as writing. Those who do this can better understand. Reading and writing, you will find these conjunctions play a very important role, and conjunction is also a very great chapter we will discuss in concept in specific classes respectively. Similarly, interjection is also another important part of speech. What it does, it expresses our feeling, our happiness, our grief, our anger, our pain, and all those things we have discussed briefly earlier. And today, let us have the discussions about noun, pronoun, verb, and adjectives, as well as to some extent to adverbs, which we have discussed in our previous classes. For that, let me write a diagram over here. Okay? Here you see, now we are going to just recall what we discussed about noun. See, here, as we know, noun means a name in what? It can be the name of a person, a thing, an animal, a place, and an action. So also, every name is a noun. But when we talk about noun, we discussed three different things about noun. What are the different types of nouns we understood, and what cases and functions and relations of this noun. We also understood their gender. As far as types are concerned, we understood that people have given the nouns different names at different situations, places, and purposes, even you can say. So they are sometimes called concrete nouns and sometimes abstract nouns. Concrete nouns have physical existence, abstract nouns don't have physical existence. Suppose I will tell a pen which we physically see, touch and feel. So its name is a concrete noun, whereas I will tell you honesty is best policy. Here honesty is such a thing that cannot be seen or touched or felt. Therefore, those nouns are called abstract nouns, that you know. Similarly, common noun which we use very commonly, boys, girls, teachers, students, understand? Chair, schools, buildings, roads, villages, and all those are the very common nouns. Proper noun means when we talk about a specific name, Hari, Durga Guruji, or Durga Prasad Sarangi is a name, or whiteboard. My whiteboard, that means 10th class whiteboard is a very proper name. Japan, America, India, these are the proper nouns we should know that about them we discussed. Collective nouns, when we talk about collective nouns like family, army, so all those things you can say some other nouns like which are very common because collectively they are given a name. Army has a different people, family has a different personalities, and collectively we call it is a family, but it is plural, singular in form, but plural in meaning. Understand? So similarly, we have countable and uncountable nouns. Countable and uncountable nouns are also very important that we discussed. Countable nouns which we can count, uncountable nouns we don't count, we cannot count with numbers. Understand? Because for them to count them, what we use, let me write and tell you. So for countable nouns, we use numbers and articles. Similarly, uncountable nouns, we use some words to demonstrate or describe their quantity. A glass of water, a bag of rice, a cake of salt, a pinch of salt, a liter of oil, a lot of students, lots of students, many boys, much knowledge. So all those words we have been using to demonstrate, to describe the quantity or the amount of some uncountable nouns are called quantifiers. But quantifiers are not only used to show the quantity of uncountable nouns. They can also be used, some words in our literature have been used to demonstrate the quantity, and they are quantifiers not only for uncountable nouns but for countable, uncountable nouns. So when we talk about this quantifiers, let's say here quantifiers are of three ways we have been using. Functional English, I am telling you, if you understand them, it will help you to talk and write correctly. So here you see, we are using for singular. That means for one thing, one subject, one boy, a boy, two boy. For only one, an umbrella, the boy. So we can use a, an, and the to talk about the singular. Then singular quantifiers, you take it. Similarly, when we talk about it is plural. Plural means more. Understand? More means that can be for a countable noun and uncountable noun. For countable noun and uncountable noun, we use for countable noun several, many, a lot of, lots of. For uncountable noun, we use more, much, a great deal of, a lot of, lots of also we can use for uncountable nouns that we discussed. We use a lot of, lots of for countable and uncountable for both in our sentences when we are talking about plurality. Provided the sentence must be in positive. Sentence should be in affirmative sentence. For negative and interrogative sentences, we use many for countable nouns and much for uncountable nouns. This was the confusion students always have, that we clarified. Similarly, we have the less amount and quantity. When we are talking only one, we are talking more, we are talking less. For less also, we have for countables and uncountables. For countables, we use few, a few, the few. Few means nothing, a few means something, its quantity we have little knowledge, and that the few means we know what are the little number of, the less number of, because it is a countable now. I have few friends in Bhubaneswar, means I have no friends. I have a few friends in Bhubaneswar, means I have some friends in Bhubaneswar. But I have little knowledge that how many they number, I can't recall. But I have a few friends. The few means I particularly with confidence know that how many number of friends I have. Similarly, for uncountable noun we use little. I have little knowledge. Knowledge is an uncountable knowledge. Means I don't have any knowledge. I have a little knowledge, means I have some knowledge, but exactly I don't know what quantity of knowledge I have. The knowledge means I have the knowledge, means the amount of knowledge I have about that subject. That means we know them. Understand, this is what quantifier. That we discussed. We are briefly analyzing them to recall your understandings. Okay, so after we understood all those types of your nouns, then let's come. The next thing is cases, functions, and relations. Cases means what? When we talk about how they are using their place. One is said nominative case. Nominative case means the subject. When we are using the noun as a subject, we say it is nominative case. You know them. Similarly, another is objective. A noun can also be used as an object, that you know. But when it is used an object, we have, you see, we have, it can be of definite transitive verbs can have more than two objects. Understand? Can have more than two objects. So sometimes our sentences can have more than two objects of a transitive verb. So when we have two objects, what is that object? If an object is a non-living thing, that can be taken as a direct object. If it is a living thing, that can be taken as an indirect object. I have written here a sentence, you see. He told me a story. He told me, he is the subject, told is the verb, me is a living thing, that is a indirect object. A story is a non-living thing, that is a direct object. So when we are talking about direct object, the indirect objects, you see, are in dative case. Its case is a dative case. When it is functioning in an object and it is functioning as an indirect object, a living thing in our sentence, and it is called as dative case. But sometimes our sentences have our sentences have only one object. Then you see, Hari told a story. Here told is a verb, story is the object, only object is there. So this case is the object case, but it is called accusative case. Accusative case means the object can be used to make our sentences passive. Okay, so this is the structure of a grammatical construction of our language we have discussed earlier. We are just revising. Please have concentration. Okay, so then let's come about the possessive case. Possessive case means we have discussed about the possessive. For possessive case we use apostrophe S, and of. Possessive case is a very big chapter, but we understood them in such a way. So we use apostrophe S. These two things are used for persons, and to some other nouns and pronouns to some extent based on certain rules available that you know that we have discussed, I think. Okay, but we use apostrophe S when we are talking about a singular subject, and we use S apostrophe when we are talking about a plural subject that ends with S. Okay, so here you see Ram is a singular subject, we can make Rams. But here boys, when we talk about the boys school, here boys is a plural subject. To make it possessive, we have to give an apostrophe after this. That you know very well. Similarly, what happens when we talk about a non-living thing? For example, as I always tell, chair's leg. Chair's leg, chair is a non-living thing. We cannot make the chair's leg like such. It is grammatically incorrect. Therefore, what we need to do? We can use of for that. Okay? The leg of the chair. We can say leg of the chair. Leg of chair. That also we can tell. Understand? So this is what the possessive case. Vocative case, we have another case that also we discussed. What is that? You know. So vocative case means when we want to attract someone's attention towards us. Everybody is busy. Students have been working, writing, and they are doing their homework. They have been talking among themselves, and they are busy. And when I am in the class, I need to attract the attention of my students. So what should I tell to them? Students, attention please. Listen what I am going to tell you. So when what happened, when I told students, sit down. Students, please stand up. So what happens when we use certain words, when we use them, somebody will be divert their attention towards us. And while writing, we use a comma before this vocative case. Understood? So now let's talk about its functions. What happens when nouns function in two ways? What are they? One is you can say they function. It functions as a complement of a verb. Complement of a verb. It functions as a complement of a verb, because a complement means without that word the sentence is incomplete, and that verb can be anything that we discuss. It's a linking verb. Okay. So similarly, it can function case apposition. Case apposition. Case apposition means you see Rama told. Is the sentence complete? Rama told me a story. Then the sentence completed. Or Rama told a story. Sentence completed. So without a story, the object, the sentence is incomplete. So if we say Rama told, because Hari is, and stop. Can anybody understand? Because Hari is a boy, Hari is a student, Hari is coming, Hari is reading now, Hari is playing with computer or mobile or whatever. You can say we have to complete the sentence. Therefore, some subjects are functioning as the complements of verbs. Those were linking verbs. And similarly, case apposition means we are talking about one person with writing the same thing in two ways, two places. Same thing and again same thing. We substitute with the different other nouns. You see, the Hari is a person. The doctor saved my life. You see, Hari, the doctor, saved my life. We are talking about the doctor. Who is this doctor? This doctor is Hari. Hari is the doctor. So we are talking about the same person, but separated by comma. You can say here the doctor is giving more information, or Hari is giving more information about it. This word is giving more information about the doctor, or this word is giving more information about the Hari. It's complementary. So here what happens? Here the same about the same person. So it is called the case apposition. Understand? So nouns, cases and functions and relations are like such. Understand? Then let's briefly discuss about their gender. Okay? Okay, when we are talking about the gender of a noun, gender means that we have discussed it is what we are talking about, this masculine gender. That means it's male gender. Feminine gender means female gender. Example, father is masculine, mother is feminine. So when brother, sister, brother-in-law, sister-in-law, uncle, auntie, so you can better understand. So we have given examples. I am telling you, revise those chapters. We have clearly analyzed them in the subsequent classes. I wish you will revise so that you can recall clearly. But still, we are discussing this. So when we talk about the father, as a male gender and mother. Similarly, there are the genders. Common gender means it can include both male and female gender. Let's say student, students, student, teacher, understand? And doctor, engineer, officer. Understand? Those who are common, that can include both male gender and female gender. Similarly, neutral gender means what? When we talk about neutral gender, they are neither male gender nor female gender, or non-living things you can say. You can say pen, computer, chair, table, mobile, everything, the materials you have been encountering in your environment, you can that don't have life. They are called neutral gender. We understood now about briefly. Now it's a types, it's a cases, functions and relations, as well as its gender briefly. Let's discuss the next topic now. Okay? Well, let's welcome and understand this next part of the speech briefly. Okay, to just recall. And the next part of the speech today now is a pronoun. Pronouns, as we have already discussed, you know that some words which we use in place of nouns, or some nouns that substitute, some words that substitute the nouns they are used to avoid the repetition of the same noun again and again. Ramo is a boy. Ramo every day comes to school. Ramo sits with me. Rama also plays cricket in our playground. So when we are using the one person's name repeatedly, incessantly, it should be avoidable in the language. Therefore, in place of Rama, we can use he. So he is a pronoun over here. Similarly, he, she, it, they. Understand? So they are called pronouns. We are discussing them right now. You understood? So this concept is some words we use to avoid the replication of the same name again and again in our sentences, or substitute them. These words are pronouns, that you understood. But when we are talking about what different types of pronouns are available and what are the classifications, that we discussed in our previous chapter. Now also briefly I am telling you, listen. See, when we talk about types of classification, types of pronouns can be personal, it can be a personal pronoun. We use it in an interrogative pronoun. We also use indefinite pronouns. Okay? Personal pronoun means which are talking about only the persons. Persons means Ramo, Hari, Sita, my friends, my teachers, my classmates, my friend, my father, my mother, my parents, my brothers, my sisters. So when we are talking about them, we use some pronouns for them. So when we are talking about a personal pronoun, you see we are using it as a subject, as an object, as a possessive, as well as reflexive. So when we are using I, we use I as a subject. I am a boy. We can use the object form of I is me. It's me. Okay. My teacher told me a story. Here me is used as an object in our sentence. Mine and mine are called possessives. This is my pen. This pen is mine. Okay? This is not her pen. This pen is not hers. Understand? So here when we are talking about the possessives, we have used mine and mine or ours or yours or hers in two ways. So when we are using mine, it is called possessive adjective, because after this there comes a subject. This is my pen. After my pen is there, so the my is functioning as an adjective over here. So it is talking about possessive. as well as an adjective. It is possessive adjective. But when we are talking about this pen is mine, and after this there is no object. Mine is only talking about the possessive pronoun. This is also a possessive pronoun, but it is functioning as a possessive adjective. Mind it, remember. This is grammar we should understand easily and clearly with confidence so that we will use them. When we are talking about myself, you see it is reflexive. I can do this work myself. You can do yourself. Don't need to depend on others. Okay? So reflexives particularly we are using in personal pronouns. Similarly, the another type is interrogative pronoun. Interrogative means what? Interrogative means to ask questions. When we use some pronouns to ask questions about something, about a person, about a thing, about a place, or about anything, we use some pronouns. Pronouns means pronoun means words used in place of nouns. For example, Hari is a boy. Who is a boy? Understand? Who is a boy? Hari. No, Hari is not a boy. Hari is a teacher. He is an aged fellow. How can we say Hari is a boy? The contradictions are there. That can be the argument. But when we talk about the statements, Hari is a boy. So in place of Hari, we can use who? Because it is a person. So it is functioning as a pronoun, but it also asks questions. Therefore, it is called interrogative pronoun. Similarly, we are using three different interrogative pronouns. You can say who, that, which. When we are talking about interrogative pronouns, we use them in three different ways, not four ways. As not reflexives are not with them. So we can use who as a subject for persons who, as an object for a person whose, to talk about the possessive of a person. Who, whom, whose are completely used for persons. What and which are normally, generally used for things, animals, places and other things. But sometimes, very specific times, which is used for persons as well. When you will encounter such grammatical constructions while reading and understanding, listening lectures from your teachers of literature. So, but when we are talking about the possessive case of this what and which, we use of what or of which, because we cannot have whose like what and which. Whose is for persons. Sometimes used for other things, rules are available. Okay, so but here we understood interrogative pronouns. Hari told me a story. Whom did Hari told a story? That means here me. That means somebody asking whom. This is a very nice pen. Whose pen is this? Whose is this pen? That means we are talking about who is the owner of this pen, who belongs to this pen, belongs to whom? The possessive case. So when the question comes to whose, we talk about the belongingness of something, or something belongs to someone, or someone possesses something. So this is the thing that we have discussed. Similarly, indefinite pronouns like anyone, someone, anybody, anything, nothing, no one, nobody, all those things you know. Understand? So now we will discuss you, and after understanding this pronoun, let's go to the other part of the speech. Okay? Wait. Let's understand about the verb. Verb means also you know it is an action word. Every work that we do, as I told you, is an action, and action is a verb. But verbs have been given different names to different places, situations, and cases. We have been naming them. What are they? Sometimes we say the stative verb and action verb. Stative verb means it does not change. Like be verbs, I am a boy. Like I like chocolates. He owns this house. So it is a static verb. Action verbs which are dynamic, which change. I go, I went, I will go, I am going. So these are, he reads, he will read, he was reading. Understand? So he eats, he ate, he will eat. Understand? So they are action oriented words, those were dynamic words. Sometimes we say some verbs are main verbs, as I told you, which completely describing an action and talking about an action, they are main verbs. Main verbs means go, come, eat, play, dance, write, sleep, teach, listen. Okay, so these are the main verbs. And we have some auxiliary verbs as well. Auxiliary means helping verbs. Whenever we want to change the form of the main verb, these auxiliary verbs help us. Instead, auxiliary verbs are again auxiliaries are about two types. We can say the primary auxiliary and modal auxiliary. Primary auxiliaries again are of three types. We have two. Auxiliary verbs, we should know that always have two forms. First form and second form. Go, goes, understand, and went, like such. But go is not an auxiliary. Go is not. Am is our first form, was were second form. Understand? So similarly, have as first form, had a second form. Understand? Similarly, have as first form, had a second form. When we are using have verb as auxiliaries. Similarly, modal auxiliaries also having two forms. That is a different discussion, so we did not discuss about them. But as far as primary auxiliary is concerned, we discussed to some extent that you know. But here auxiliaries normally help us in changing the forms of a verb to express an aspect. That can be a progressive, perfective or perfective progressive aspects of our verbs. Okay, so sometimes we say a verb is a regular verb and irregular verb. Regular verbs means those verbs second form and past participle form is used the same word. They are called regular verbs. Here you see, I have used played and played. The past form as well as the past participle form, worked and worked. So these verbs, those past form and past participle form as the same word, they are called regular verbs. Those past and past participle forms are different, they are irregular forms. You see, here the past form is ate and the past participle is eaten. So you understood what is regular and irregular verb. Next is the finite and non-finite, transitive and intransitive, we will understand right now. First question is here that when we are talking about the forms of the verb, the main verb or the lexical verb, what you say, the full verb people say, full verbs or a full verb has 4-5 different forms. These forms are not forms. Forms basically are of two types, finite and non-finite forms. Only this. Okay, so but here we are talking in a different way to understand this. Here we use in a different forms of a verb like infinitive form, that means to plus infinitive, to eat, simple present form, eat or eats, simple past form, ate, past participle, eaten, and present participle is eating. In such a way, we have been using different forms of a verb in our sentences at different situations. But question comes here, why the forms of a verb change? Basically, the forms of a verb change, as I have told you, there are two purposes, two causes responsible for the changes in the forms of a verb. Because one is for time change. When time changes, we have three different times. You see, we have times of present, past and future time. Present, past and future time. When time changes, the forms of the verb change. Another change is what? The action change. Similarly, what different actions we have? We have different actions like future action, like complete action, like incomplete action, and like completed action. So we have discussed them. If you go through them, here I am writing briefly and quickly so that you can recall. Just to recall, we are not going very deep. Just analyzing. You see, so there are two causes. One is time change when it is an action change. When time changes, the forms of a verb change. Similarly, when the action changes, the forms of a verb change. So what happens? We have three different times: present, past, and future time. We have four different actions. We use in spoken English. I am not going to the in-depth up to the grammar. As I have already told you, we are discussing the functional use of the parts of speech. As you say, the verb and tense aspects and everything. It is a functional use which will give you confidence for speaking and writing both. For speaking, it is confidence. So here you see future action, complete action, incomplete action, and completed action. I go to school to read. Why I go to school? To read. When question comes why, it is talking about to read. I will go to school to read. You see, I went to school to read. Here in our sentence, I go to school to read. I will go to school to read. I went to school to read. So here one verb go, will go and went changed because we changed the time. When time changed, the forms of this verb changed. But to read in all the three sentences remained constant because they did not change their forms. Because they are talking about the future action. Because when we talk about future action, we use 2 plus verb 1, that means infinitive form. When we complete action we use the simple present form. What? I saw the driver jumps out of the truck. That means we saw the complete action. The driver stood up, came out of this door, opened the door and jumped down and reached on the floor. The complete action when we are talking about, we use this. I will see, he jumps out today, how it is. Understand? The form changes when time changes, but this is due to action change. Incomplete action means, I saw Sita reading a newspaper when I was coming to my house from her street. Understand? So Sita is reading means when Sita started reading, when Sita ended her reading, we don't know. But when our glance, when we immediately saw, then something was in progress. So when it started, when it ended, we have no knowledge. It is talking about a part of action. Therefore, it is incomplete action. For that, we use present participle form. Actions I am talking about. Similarly, completed actions means an action is already completed. So, my teacher revised a discussed chapter. A chapter which is already discussed earlier, that my teacher revised again. Understand? So, here it is talking about a complete action. And when we are talking about this, when the forms of a verb changes with the changes in action, they are called non-finites. When the forms of a verb changes with the changes of time, they are called finites. Finite verbs. So you understood finite and non-finite verb. Verbs form change for two causes. Time change, action change. When forms change with the changes in time, they are finite. When forms changes in action, non-finite. Very clear. And when we are talking about finite verbs again have been used in two ways. One is transitive, another is intransitive. This is transitive, intransitive. Transitive means when in our sentence after the verb there is an object. Hari reads newspaper. Here the reads is a verb and after this there is an object, newspaper. So here if we have an object, it is called transitive. If the sentence does not have an object, the verb will be called intransitive. Birds fly. After this fly, there is no object, so it can be intransitive. Understood? This is the basic to recall your previous. Let's discuss the other things about this verb. Okay? When we talk about the use of tense, time and aspects, let us briefly recap our discussions earlier. You see, when the forms of a verb change with the changes of time, we have three different times, and the forms of the verbs change with the change of time means tense. That means the finite verbs forms change, finite verbs forms change means finite verbs tense change. Tense means nothing but the changes in the forms of a verb with the changes in time. That's all. You see, but we have three different times and two tenses. We have past time, present time and future time, but past tense and present tense. We use two tenses to talk about three different times. We use past tense for past time. Similarly, we use present tense for present time, and again present tense to talk about the future time. We use present tense for present as well as future time. We use past tense for past time. Similarly, when we talk about the aspects means situations where we need to change the forms of a verb using auxiliaries for finite verbs I am talking about. So, these are called aspects. Normally, for every tense has four different aspects. That means present tense has a simple aspect, progressive aspect, perfective aspect. That means simple means let's say one example, eat, eats, simple aspect. Progressive, am is are eating. Perfective, have has eaten. Perfective, progressive of present tense is have has been plus eating. This doesn't need to explain more. Similarly, when we talk about past tense also having simple aspect. Instant, went, ate. Progressive, was, were eating. Perfective, had eaten. Perfective, progressive, had been eating. Understand? So, you understood this? Let us know what we use for present and what is called present, past, and how these aspects have been used in different times in a diagram so that we can briefly understand. Okay? Since we are discussing the functional use of time, tense and aspects as we understood graphically earlier, here I am telling you what is the present tense that we use for present time. Present tense includes only up to this much. Because only verb first form, verb 1, am is verb first form, have has first form, that simple present, eat eats first form or simple present, and am is plus ing form. Present tense has two things, one is first form, another is am is plus ing form. Similarly, when we talk about the past tense are also having the second form and was, were plus ing form. This much only past tense. And this much only present tense. Okay, so in present tense we are using the present progressive aspect, simple present aspect. In past tense we are using simple past and past progressive aspect. Similarly, some situations we need to talk about past and present link. So when we talk about I have already completed my homework. That means my sir has given. I have completed. I have not shown him yet. Therefore, so we are talking about the link between past and present. In such situations, we use have as plus V3. That means the eaten, the V3 past participle. Similarly, have has been plus ing. That means have has been plus eating. When we talk about the past and present link, work started in the past and till continuing. And we use for and since while using present perfective progressive aspect. This is present perfective aspect to link between the present and past. I have been teaching English for 10 years. Here we have used for what started in the past till it is continued, and for because we are talking about duration or period of time. I have been teaching English since 2000. That means we are talking about the starting point we used since. And while using have as we use just already yet. I have just completed. I have already completed. I have not completed yet. That means while talking about negative we use yet. Understand? So similarly sometimes we need to talk about the link between past and earlier past. Before the past. That means yesterday is past. Day before yesterday or before 1 week is earlier past. Sometimes we need to have the link between the past and earlier past. For that we are using some aspects. What are they? Head plus verb, third form means it and the past participle form to talk about the relation between the past and earlier past. When the doctor came, the patient had died. That means before the doctor came, patient died. Action first, the first action becoming head plus third form. And had been plus ing is such an aspect very rarely in use. I don't think it is necessary, but being students we should know its use. Okay, you understood and you can recall. Similarly, when we talk about future time we use present tense as we have already understood. But not only present tense we are using, we are also using will shall for that. While using will shall, we use will shall plus past form. That means will shall eat, will eat or shall eat. We use will shall be plus ing, will be eating or shall be eating. We can use will shall have plus third form to talk about future. Will shall have eaten. So will have eaten or shall have eaten, like such we are using. Purpose is what? When we are talking about an immediate action, we use will shall plus past form. I am going to market. Will you come with me? Hey, Guruji is going to start the class. Will you come there? So, when we are talking about an immediate action in future, I am talking functional use of grammar. Functional use of tense and aspects I am telling. I am not analyzing the depth, all those rules, functional use. You see, will be, ing is what? So, when we are talking about in future, at a certain point of time, something will be in progress. When you will come to my house in the evening, I will be reading there. Means it is temporary situation in the future time. So when we'll have plus verb third form means we'll have it means what? It is talking about future at a point of time before a certain point of time in future. An action will have completed. That means when I returned to my house yesterday, I found my father had slept. That means before my reaching, he had this is what I am telling you different. When you will come to my house today evening, I will have completed my homework. We are talking future time. Understand? So when I will go to my house today evening, I will see my father will have slept. That means an action will have completed before a certain time in future. This is the thing you mind it. Similarly, we use present tense for future when we use simple present for future. We use simple present for future when we talk about an action that is fixed in relation to official timetable or calendar. That means my exam starts on 26th. Means here we used starts for talking about future time because it is fixed in relation to official timetable or calendar. My birthday is on 5th December this year. We have used because it is fixed in relation to official timetable. Similarly, we are using am is or ing form to talk about future. When we are using the present progressive aspect to talk about future, that is used in two ways. How it is? Only am is or ing form, and am is are going to plus verb past form. That means example, am is are eating, or am is are visiting, or am is are playing, or am is are buying, am is are going to buy, am is are going to play, am is are going to fail. It is in differently. So we only use present progressive for future when we talk about our personal future plans. That means next week we are visiting Nandakanan next Sunday. My brother is returning from America next week. Okay, so when we are talking about our plan, similarly, we use am is are going to plus verb past form to talk about future when we are predicting about future for something based on a proof that for example Hari is not attending classes regularly, he is not writing, not reading even, means what? It is a proof he is going to fail in the examination. Instead, because we are predicting about future based on a certain proof, then we are using am is are going to plus verb past form. This is what the functional use of time, tense and aspects. Let's discuss the next subtopic of parts of speech. Here you see we are discussing another part of speech, that is adjectives, which we have already discussed. Adjectives means I have already told you that some words that describes, modifies, attributes or enhances the meaning of nouns and pronouns in our sentence. Examples, one example I have given here. There are 3 small black chairs. You see, there are 3 chairs. There are 3 small chairs. There are 3 small black chairs. These 3 small black, these words are modifying, enhancing the meaning of this word, the noun or a subject or an object as a noun. Therefore, they are functioning as an adjectives. But when we talk about the adjectives are of various kinds and types that we have discussed. You see, adjectives are of 9 different types. Earlier we did discuss. One is a descriptive adjective or adjective of quality, quantitative adjective, numeral adjective or adjective of number, demonstrative adjectives, distributive adjectives, interrogative adjectives, possessive adjectives, proper adjectives and emphatic adjectives. Instead, so there are 9 different types of adjectives we have been using, and we will understand briefly one by one them so that you can easily recall them. Let me write something on the board. Okay? Here you see, but all those 9 different adjectives have been grouped under 2 divisions only. One is a descriptive adjective and others are restrictive adjectives. Let's discuss one by one briefly. Okay? Here let's understand briefly about 2 different types of adjectives. One is a descriptive adjective. Descriptive means which describes, which modifies, enhances the meaning of a noun, is called descriptive adjective. Rama is a industrious student. Sita is a beautiful girl. So when we are talking about the describing the quality of a noun, they are descriptives, but descriptives have been used in 2 ways. One is attributively, another is predicatively. When the adjective comes before the noun, Sita is a beautiful girl. Before the noun girl, beautiful came. So it is called attributively. Okay? So when after this adjective, there is no such object. You have a beautiful house. Here beautiful is before house, but your house is beautiful. So your adjective is coming at the end. So after the adjective there is no such object, therefore it is called predicative. But what happens when we are talking about these descriptive adjectives, we also use the degrees. Sita is beautiful. Sita is more beautiful means comparative. The most beautiful. He is an old boy. He is an old man. He is older. The oldest. In this way, the comparatives and superlatives also we use to have more information about the descriptions of a noun as an adjective. Similarly, next comes numeral adjectives. Numeral adjectives means it is talking about the number. Number of the noun or its number. When we talk about its number, numbers can be of 2 types. You see, one is a definite number and another is indefinite numbers. Definite means we know the exact number. I have 7 students. Here 7 is functioning as an adjective because it is talking about the definite number, exact number. When we don't have the knowledge of exact number, it is a indefinite adjective. For definite we use ordinal number, cardinal number and multiplicative number. Ordinal number 1, 2, 3, 4, 500, 700. Similarly, cardinal number first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh. Multiplicative once, twice, thrice, double, triple. Like such, we are using such words as an adjectives. They are talking about definite number. But when we are talking about indefinite number of numeral of adjectives, there can be many. I have many students. Exact numbers we don't know. He has much knowledge. Exact amount or quantity we don't have. So there are lot of students. Means exact numbers we don't know, but functioning as a number. So they are indefinite numeral adjectives. Let's discuss some other adjectives briefly and quick. Here you see another 2 different types of adjectives we are discussing right now. Briefly, you just see them. Understand? So what is this? Next is the quantitative adjective or the adjective of quantity. It is talking about the quantity or the amount. Some words we are using to talk about the quantity and amount of uncountable nouns to know their quantity. They are functioning as adjectives. And what are they? They are used as all, some, much, little, whole, enough, sufficient, no, any. These words we have been using as quantitative adjectives to enhance the meaning of some nouns in our sentences as adjectives. So you see, all the boys were present. Some students will not come to today's class. I have much knowledge. She has little knowledge. The whole country supporting the Prime Minister. I have enough money. I don't want more. I have enough knowledge to explain this subject. Similarly, I have sufficient food to eat for complete year. Similarly, I have no money to buy something. Do you have any book for understanding about mathematics? Understand? So such words are talking about the quantity or amount of uncountable nouns we use as adjectives. Similarly, demonstrative adjectives are pointing out to a noun. It is pointing out a noun. How it is pointing? What we are using for them as demonstrative adjectives? We use a and the as demonstrating. A boy who is sitting there is very important. Is very intelligent. So we can use this, that, this boy, that book, these mangoes, those apples, and such books. Okay, so we are using them to talk about to use as demonstrative adjectives. You understood the quantitative and demonstrative adjectives briefly. Let's understand other adjectives briefly. Okay. Here you see we have written some other types of adjectives. You just try to understand. What are they? They are distributive adjective. Distributive adjective means what? Some adjectives, some words, those refers to an individual element. We are talking about individual elements. Some words we are using to enhance the meaning of the nouns in our sentence. Individual elements. They are what? Each, every, either, neither. Each boy in our class is intelligent. Every student has a roll number. Either of them is intelligent. Okay? Neither of them is serious about examination. Okay? So similarly, we are using such words to enhance the meaning of nouns and pronouns as distributive adjectives. Similarly, interrogative adjectives means some words we use to ask questions, but as an adjective, they are called interrogative adjectives. Here, you see what which and whose basically we use to ask questions, but they are used as adjectives. What book do you like most? Which pen is yours? Whose book is this? So when we are asking, these words are functioning as an adjectives because after them there is a noun or pronoun. Similarly, possessive adjectives are talking about the possessions of something. If something belongs to someone, as you know, the possessive case. So here, to show the possessive case, we use some words. They are called possessive adjectives. What are they? They are mine, your, our, her, his, they. It is my pen. This pen, this is not your pen. This is his seat. This is not our school. Understand? So when we are talking about the possessive case of these nouns, the possessives, some words we are using to demonstrate the possessive case or the possessive of a noun that it functions as an adjective are called the possessive adjectives. Other adjectives we will again discuss. Here you see we are going to discuss another type, other types which we have not covered yet till now. They are the proper adjectives and emphatic adjectives. Proper adjectives means when we are using a proper name as an adjective. Okay, for example, Japanese toys are very costly. Chinese mobiles are dangerous these days. We should not use them because it contains several inbuilt apps that is dangerous for us. So similarly, Indian army is very courageous and defeat any army in the globe. Okay, so we are using proper names as adjectives to modify another noun, the meaning of another noun. You understood? So similarly, emphatic adjectives. Emphatic adjectives means, as its name says, we give much stress or we give much emphasis, or we emphasize the words emphasize, the nouns it modify, they are called emphatic adjectives. What are they? They are very, perfect, utter, outright, total, absolute, complete, pure, etc. These words are functioning as adjectives, but they give emphasis on the noun they modify in our sentences. Understand? So, she is very beautiful. Understand? It is perfect time. So, it utter griefness, it outright demand, you get total understanding or absolute right. So, complete chapter. So, when we are using these words, they are giving emphasis on the noun they modify. So, they are called emphatic adjectives. But what happens when we are using adjectives, we have confusions of using them in a specific order. Therefore, let's understand how we can use adjectives in a specific order. Okay? Okay, since it is a matter of confusion of using the adjectives in order, as I have written in an example over here, a tablecloth, French, blue, small, old, cotton, round, beautiful. There are several such words used as adjectives to qualify or to enhance the attribute the meaning of a noun, that is a tablecloth, but these adjectives have not been used in a specific order so that it can have complete meaning. Therefore, what we need to do, we have to follow a certain order. First, the order is what? Whenever we are using adjectives and more than one adjective, so we should keep in our mind what are they. Whether they are determinants or opinions or size, shape, age, color, origin, material and purpose. So, if determinants will come first like articles, possessives like and demonstratives like a, m, the, mine, your, this, that and other numbers that comes after bit at first. Okay, before all adjectives. Then if any opinion you are giving, you can give beautiful, expensive, delicious, smart. These are our opinions will come after the determinants. Then comes the size. Whether it is small, big, large, tall, short, long or whatever, that will come after these opinions. Then after this size, what comes? This shape comes. Shape is round, square, rectangular, etc. These are these shapes. Similarly, after shape, age will come. Age like old, new, young, like such it will come. Similarly, after age, color comes. Blue, red, green, black. This is the order. Similarly, after color, origin comes. Whether it is French, Italian, Turkish, Indian, American, whatever the origin of the we are talking about as an adjective, the word will come after that. Similarly, then comes the material. Material means what kind of material? Whether it is cotton, iron, plastic, wood, or something else, steel or what. So then comes the material. Then comes the purpose. Purpose means for what purpose it is used. Whether the car is a sports car, cleaning liquid, hand sanitizer, all these words we have been using as a specific purpose. So the sentence over here written, those adjectives are not in complete order. So if we use the adjectives in this order, like determiner, opinion, size, shape, age, color, origin, material and purpose in this order, then our adjectives have been used in a proper order. We should understand like such. The same statement I have written over here, you can understand in accordance to this order. What is that? A beautiful small round old blue French cotton tablecloth. So if we are writing this, we are following this order, then only we have orderly, properly used the adjectives where we encounter more than one adjective in our statement, modifier and its meaning, then we have to follow this order. And this much is all about your noun, pronoun, verb, tense, functional use of type, tense and aspects, and about brief discussions about your adjectives. Okay, this much will come in your examination. Please go through the previous videos and all the discussions we have made, and this will also help you. Besides this, also we did discuss about adverbs. Another important part of speech that will not come in your examination. You should only follow up to this much and revise the previous videos, and will get more information, more understanding, more confidence. Best of luck. For today, only this much.